Welcome to the Deep Dive, the place where we cut through the noise to find the real signal. Today, we're embarking on a mission, really. We're exploring this core idea from our source material that true personal freedom, lasting success, it all hinges on taking 100% personal responsibility.
Yeah, and we've looked at some heavy hitters here, people like Darren Hardy, Stephen Covey. They all seem to converge on this one point, and it's not just about, being morally upright. It's presented as a psychological mechanism. Responsibility isn't some burden you carry. It's actually the lever, the point you press to really steer your own life.
Right, and that feeling of being stuck, that inertia people feel, the sources argue it's often not about huge external disasters, it's more subtle. It's that reluctance, sometimes unconscious, to really own your outcomes completely. We fall into that blame trap. We tell ourselves, oh, it's the economy, or it's how I was raised, or it's their fault.
Exactly. It's that dependent mindset playing out. It's not my fault, which feels comforting for a second, but the hidden message is, therefore, I can't fix it.
Hmm.
And the sources really hammer home the cost of that thinking. When you blame your situation on your environment or other people,
Yeah.
well, you're literally handing over the controls. You're giving the blueprint of your life to things you can't predict or manage.
So if the world is responsible for where you are, you basically have to wait for the world to change before you can change. And that waiting is just a slow form of self-sabotage, isn't it?
It really is. And the pivot point, the moment these authors say things start to shift, it's internal. It's that uncomfortable pause where you take a breath and admit, maybe just to yourself, okay, maybe what's happening, maybe it has something to do with me, with my choices,
Even if it feels unfair.
even if it feels unfair.
Yeah.
Because in that admission, you stop being just a passenger. You grab the wheel. It's instantly reclaiming your agency. Because if you are, in some way, the cause, then you also hold the key to the solution.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit more. The why behind this pretty extreme view of ownership. Why does 100% responsibility equal freedom? Darren Hardy, in The Compound Effect, has this quote that just, boom, hits it perfectly.
Which one? The self-made one.
Yeah. We are all self-made, but only the successful admit it.
That's powerful because it flips victimhood on its head. It suggests it's a kind of denial. If you deny you made yourself the good and the bad, you also deny your power to remake yourself. The reality is, fundamentally, no one else is pushing the buttons on your daily life.
That's it. Every single decision, whether you realize it or not, how you react when someone cuts you off in traffic, how you spend your Saturday morning, the boundaries you maybe don't set with people, it's all a choice. And each choice is like a brushstroke. You're painting your life constantly. You hold the brush, always.
Yeah, even inaction is a brushstroke, right? It colors the canvas, too. Hardy tells this great story illustrating just how deep this goes. He was 18 at a seminar. And he asked the trainer, how much responsibility should you take for a relationship to work?
And you'd think, okay, 50-50. Maybe 60-40 if you're feeling generous. We're conditioned to think about fairness, about equity.
Right, but the trainer just walks up to the board and writes, 100.
100.
Yeah.
0. Sounds exhausting. And maybe a bit naive. How does that even work with real flawed people? Aren't you just setting yourself up to be taken advantage of?
See, that's the common reaction, but the interpretation is key. The 1000 isn't about relationship math or fairness. It's about your internal architecture. It means you take full, complete ownership for your side of the equation. Your effort, your attitude, your responses, your choice to even be in that relationship. You expect 0 from the other person in terms of making you feel okay or making the relationship succeed on its own.
Okay, so it's not about doing 100% of the work.
Not necessarily. It's about taking 100% responsibility for your own input and your own state of mind within it. If it fails, the 100% mindset lets you say, okay, I controlled everything I could control. I own my choices, including the choice to stay or leave, but I'm not going to pin the outcome solely on someone else's failings.
So the freedom comes from not waiting anymore. Not waiting for someone else to change or step up. If you blame your partner for a fight, you're basically giving them control over your mood, your peace.
Precisely. But if you take 100% responsibility for how you react, how you communicate, how you manage your own feelings during that fight, well, that you can control. You reclaim your internal sovereignty right there. You shift from blaming, which is just wasted energy, to owning your response. That's immediate power, usable agency.
That idea of sovereignty, it leads nicely into a more structured way of understanding this, because just saying take responsibility isn't always enough. We need a map, right?
Mm.
And Stephen Covey gave us one with his maturity continuum in The 7 Habits. It really charts the course for how we grow into effective people.
Yeah, it's a fantastic model. It lays out these three natural stages of growth, and they're all tied directly to how we view responsibility. Stage one is dependence. This is basically our starting point, like childhood. It's characterized by the you language. You didn't help me. You're the reason I'm stuck.
Right. The dependent person feels like their success, their happiness, it all comes from outside. My boss is unfair. This city is too expensive. If only they would change.
Exactly. They're waiting for an external fix. A new job, a different partner, a lucky break. Someone or something else needs to solve their problems. And the issue, of course, is that it keeps you stuck. Because real solutions have to start from the inside out.
Then comes the breakthrough. Stage 2, independence.
This is that light bulb moment. Wait a minute. I am responsible. You shift from seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances to seeing yourself as the primary creator of your results. This is where you really start internalizing that 1000 idea. You defeat excuses, you build self-reliance, you become the leader of your own life. You stop hoping for appreciation and start choosing to deliver value anyway.
And I love that Covey didn't just stop at independence, which is where a lot of self-help kind of peaks. He pushes further.
To interdependence. Yes, this is the highest level of maturity. It acknowledges that while you can stand alone, that's independence, the biggest things, the greatest achievements, they happen together. But it's not dependence masked as teamwork. It's a collaboration between fully independent, fully responsible individuals. You bring your 100%, I bring mine, and together we build something way bigger than either of us could alone.
So, if we put it all together, responsibility is basically the bridge. It takes you from feeling like a victim in dependence through mastering yourself in independence, and finally lets you effectively connect and create with others in interdependence. You have to be able to stand on your own before you can truly partner up.
Perfectly put. Otherwise, cooperation is just two dependent people leaning on each other, hoping the other one doesn't wobble. That's fragile.
Yeah.
Interdependence is strength.
Okay, this is all making sense conceptually, but now we need to get practical, because nodding along is easy. Actually building this responsibility muscle, well, that takes work. It's a skill set, right? Not just a slogan. So how do we actually train it day to day?
Right. It starts with probably the hardest part. Interrupting that ingrained blame habit. Step one. Stop blaming. Just stop and ask the veto question.
That urge to explain why it wasn't your fault, why the circumstances were impossible, man, it's strong. It feels almost like self-preservation sometimes.
It totally does. It's an emotional reflex. So the practical action is like installing a mental circuit breaker. The moment you feel that urge to justify or point fingers rising up, you hit pause. And you ask yourself this veto question. Okay, putting aside everything else for a second, what was my part in creating this result?
Regardless of fault.
Regardless of fault or fairness initially, just asking, what part did I play? It shifts your brain from defense mode, which just burns energy, into problem-solving mode, which generates options.
But what if the situation really was unfair? How do you stop that question from just becoming, beating yourself up?
That's a critical distinction. Taking responsibility isn't about taking blame for things genuinely outside your control, like someone else's bad behavior. It's about taking responsibility for what you can control, for your leverage points. So if your boss is unfair, you don't blame yourself for their personality flaws. You take responsibility for questions like, okay, did I document everything properly? Did I communicate my position clearly? Have I explored options for escalating this? What's my plan B if this continues? It's always about finding your actionable steps.
Got it. It's about focusing on your agency, not absorbing blame. Which leads right into the second step, doesn't it? Managing that internal reaction.
Exactly. Step two. Observe and widen the stimulus-response gap. We all know we can't control every external event. The market tanks, someone says something rude, traffic jams. The real skill, the sources say, is mastering the space between that thing happening, the stimulus, and how you choose to react, the response.
Okay, but how do you widen that gap? In the moment, the frustration, the anger, it feels instantaneous.
It takes practice, like any skill. Metacognition helps. Being aware of your own thoughts. So the stimulus hits. Maybe a project deadline gets moved up unexpectedly. The stress response kicks in. Instead of immediately lashing out or panicking, you try to mentally step back and just name it. Okay, I am feeling overwhelmed right now, or I'm feeling angry. Just naming the emotion creates a tiny bit of distance. It lets you observe the feeling instead of being swept away by it. That pause, even if it's just for 3 deep breaths, that's the gap. And in that gap, you can consciously choose a response that aligns with your goals, rather than just reacting automatically.
So you're treating the emotion like data, basically, information, not necessarily marching orders. That's a powerful shift.
It really is. And the third skill ties it all together, moving it from just coping to actively designing your life. Step 3. Connect responsibility with your core values.
Ah, so this isn't just about shoulds, it's about I will do this because this is who I choose to be.
Precisely. You take responsibility not because you feel obligated or you fear punishment, but because acting with integrity or diligence or honesty. Those are principles you value. So when you make a mistake, you own it quickly and cleanly, not because you're scared, but because transparency is more important to you than temporary comfort. That's a much more powerful motivator.
That clarity on values brings us to something really important, a critical nuance we have to address. Because this whole 100% responsibility idea, it could be twisted, couldn't it? It could be misinterpreted as meaning you should just tolerate terrible situations.
Yes, this is probably the most crucial caveat, especially for listeners who are really trying to apply these ideas deeply. Taking 100% responsibility does not mean you stay trapped in a situation that is genuinely toxic or harmful.
Hmm.
If you're in a job where you're constantly disrespected, or a relationship that's damaging, or even just stuck with friends who consistently undermine you, taking responsibility isn't about gritting your teeth and enduring it.
Right. Some people might confuse responsibility with a kind of stoic martyrdom, just absorbing bad treatment and refusing to blame the other person by leaving. But that's not it at all.
No, that's self-abandonment, which is the opposite of responsibility. True responsibility in that situation looks different. It means first, recognizing the reality. Okay, I acknowledge this environment is unhealthy for me. That's taking responsibility for your perception. And then it is taking 100% responsibility for your action plan. What are you going to do about it? It means creating an exit strategy, building alternatives, networking, saving money, setting boundaries while you prepare to leave.
So if your workplace is truly bad, 100% responsibility isn't staying and hoping things magically improve. It's owning the fact you deserve better and then taking concrete, responsible steps to create that better situation for yourself. Updating the resume, talking to recruiters, making the calls.
Exactly. Responsibility isn't passive acceptance of injustice. It's actively seeking solutions. It's claiming the power to change your reality, or at least your position within it, rather than just being its prisoner. You become the agent of your own well-being.
Okay, so let's try and bring this all together for everyone listening. What's the core takeaway? It seems like responsibility defined this way is the real dividing line.
Mhm.
It separates living in reaction, constantly being pushed around by external events, from living in action, actively designing your path.
That's a great way to put it. And the central paradox that comes through so clearly in these sources is just, it's quite profound, really. The moment you fully claim ownership, 100% ownership over your life and your results, you stop needing permission from anyone or anything else to start changing things. Responsibility doesn't box you in. It's the very thing that sets you free.
And maybe that's the final, most powerful thought we can leave you with today. The instant you truly admit that you are the primary cause of your current reality, whatever it looks like in that same instant, you become the most powerful force available to create the solution. So the question becomes, what's one small, responsible, value-driven step you can take today to start claiming that solution?